you? It's Health with Helen. I see everything's changed a bit on Facebook with the live streaming. It's got a different look. So how are we today? I know it's a little bit of a dingy day, isn't it? Doesn't help for the motivation, but do try and stick to being active, getting out to do your workout tonight, even if it is raining a lot, as long as your roads are not dangerous and they haven't got flooding. Or if you can't get out, do a workout indoors. That's always the other option, isn't it? There's loads of videos, I've got some as well, for you to do if you can't quite make it out, or if the roads are looking a little bit unreliable. So tonight, kind of Wednesday workout theme, I wanted to talk about hip mobility and stability, because this is one of the biggest issues certainly women seem to face, and it's from all ages, from young through to being to the older age client. And there's obviously going to be lots of different issues to why your hips might not be very stable and might be quite mobile or lacking mobility. But let's look at it from sort of the younger spectrum to my sort of age, the 40 plus spectrum. When you're younger, sort of early teens, you're still developing. So your hips are kind of not fully developed, as I said. And so there's going to be maybe, you've got to watch what activities you're doing, so that if you're doing repetitive activities in your PE or sport, that you do counteract, say you're doing the shot put or the long jump, high jump, high jump more than long jump, you're going to be going at certain angles all the time. So you need to really ensure that you are staying flexible and mobile on both sides of your hips, and that your hips are stable, that you have a bit of core strength, as people like to refer to it, so that you have control of what's happening with your hips when you're moving. And that doesn't mean you're going rigid and stiff, because if you're taking a jump into high jump, you've got to have a twisting rotation going on in the pelvis, but you need to get the right degrees of rotation, so both sides need to move well. So I want to sort of say tonight, really make sure with your exercise regime from young through to older women, you want to ensure you've got stability in your hips, and that there's simple exercises to do that. And I would strongly recommend that you do some sort of glute bottom activation before you actually do any sort of impact exercise or more intense exercise, to make sure your bum is firing, so to speak, because quite often if you've got tension through your hip flexors, the front of your hips, there could be the fact that your glutes are not doing the job they're supposed to do. And a simple shoulder bridge, where you lay on your back, your knees are bent at a sort of angle, you lift your bum up and down, that will fire up your glutes, wake them up, start sending those messages to your brain that there needs to be some activity there. It's just a very simple exercise. You could do it easily before any sort of more intense aerobic come strength training. And then maybe opening up your hip flexors too. A lot of people complain about the tension in the hips as you're getting older because of being more sedentary. And it could be also that, maybe your squats are just purely quad come hip dominant. You're not using your glutes, or hip flexor dominant. You're not using your glutes as much. So maybe doing some lunges where you hold the lunge and you open up and rotate, get a nice stretch to the front of the hip, but it's an active movement, is another great way to mobilize your hips, to get your body ready for your exercising. You could do some work on all fours. Obviously I'm not going to go through everything here, but I think it's very important that you do make sure you're focusing on how mobile and stable you are in your hips, how they function, how they work when you're doing your exercising and training. I'm seeing a lot more cases of younger women, like girls, with hip instability, and that's not a good thing. So we need to start bringing that into our training. I see a lot of older clients, again, who are losing mobility because we're just walking in a straight line. There's not directional changes. We're not giving our body a sort of full movement dynamic, which it does need. So obviously in my Pilates classes for those clients, we go through a lot of hip mobility without a lot of load, but just seeing if we can get a better range of movement, not massive, but better than what we've actually got. Pelvic tilts, another way of sort of seeing how mobile the pelvis and the back is, what's going on there. What do you use to tilt your pelvis if you're laying on your back? Do you just squeeze your bum, or can you connect into your center and your abdominals? Everything needs to move move the way and work the way it's supposed to work. Nothing should feel so tense that it's causing you discomfort. That's a sign that your body's not functioning as effectively as it should. So I just really wanted to touch on that. Think about your hip mobility, think about your stability when you're exercising, and just generally in your day-to-day activities and what you're doing with your body. If you need help in that regard, get in touch. We have Pilates classes starting in September where we go back to basics and we're thinking about what we're doing with our body, how we're using it. All the booking is available at the moment. I'll drop it in the comments. But if not, just get in touch. I've got some easy mobility exercises available. Otherwise, have a fantastic evening. I hope you've not been flooded. I hope it gets a bit sunnier tomorrow too. Feel free to like and share. That would be great if you could do that. And I'll see you tomorrow.